champions. Celtic way, wait for the ball from side to side, and until they try to hide, the way for the ball from front to back. Attack, 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 sets deserve that.
Hello and welcome to episode 55 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Join us tonight on the show we have Terence. Terence is tier 161 from our forum celticrumours.co.uk, where Celtic supporters discuss all things Celtic. On today's show we take a look at the latest news around the club, and we'll talk about today's 2-1 victory against Aberdeen in Pittodrie. We also have a look at your comments from the live chat, so if there's anything you wish for us to discuss, please let us know, and Mark and myself and Terence will do our best to get through all live chat comments. Firstly though, off to Mark for a few shout outs.
Thanks very much, Paul. Thanks everybody for coming on and joining us. Terence is in the room, I see he's coming on later. Some shout outs to Tim Alloy, Malika, AGG, Richie, even John, United Ireland. He's loaded with the flu the now, so I hope you get well soon, John. Mikey was meant to be coming on the night and he's not feeling too good again. He's just always tired now. He's not get right over this COVID yet, so I hope you get well soon, Mikey, as well. I don't know if you can tell, hopefully it sounds a wee bit better tonight. We've actually got new microphones to use, me and Paul. And that's thanks to you guys again for the donations that you have made towards the streaming that. I've said that any money for that would be going to improve things. So me and Paul bought new microphones, so we hope it kind of makes it a wee bit sound a wee bit clearer. We're not actually sure ourselves about it, but hopefully everything goes alright. Here we go, Paul. I'll go and get Terence on.
Just let me do the news there first, Mark. I'll bring him on, I'll do the news with Terence. Bring him on.
He's sitting there anyway.
Yeah.
When you go.
Right. Japan national football team have called Celtic striker Kyogo Furuhashi to the squad for the upcoming fixtures against Saudi Arabia on the 7th of October and against Australia on the 12th of October. It had been rumoured that Kyogo would not be called up to the international fold, as Kyogo has been injured for Celtic since the last international break. But due to Kyogo's quick recovery, he's back playing with Celtic for the last 2 games, and Japan have now decided to add Kyogo for the forthcoming internationals. Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou believes his Celtic rebuild will take a couple of windows, 2 to 3 at most, and said at the moment he and the board have discussed transfer targets for the upcoming January transfer window, and he said that plans are in place and that they'll be only looking at targets that would fit his system. And also said that he'll be looking at the J-League again in January, and that the board and himself have plans in place and and it's all systems go for transfer targets already. Celtic youngster Scott Robson bagged his first goal at senior level, scoring the second of Crew Alexander's draw with Cambridge United over the weekend. The on-loan Celtic midfielder already is a huge hit with fans. He has pressed the fans and he has pressed the coaching staff since his arrival in the summer of the transfer window. And in the summer from Celtic, Crew manager David Artell said that in his post-match conference yesterday, that Scott is a talent and is years upon his age. Cormac Enroy has joined Adri on loan until January. Mark Enroy has not featured in any of Ange's squad and has decided himself to join Ian Murray's Adri in search of first-team football. Celtic received £2.5 million from Bournemouth for Ryan Christie on transfer deadline day, but new details have emerged that Celtic will receive an extra add-on of £2 million should Bournemouth gain promotion to the Premier League, totaling the fee to £4.50 for a player who was in the last year of his contract. That's all for the latest news around the club. I believe Terence is with us, but Mark,
I think he's ready.
that's good for that if Bournemouth gets promoted, like an extra £2 million in the bank there for a player, Mark. Total £4.5 million who clearly wanted to leave.
That's a good bit of business, sir. I think it will all be as big a Bournemouth fan as Ryan Christie claimed that he was for the rest of the season, then hopefully.
Exactly. Terence, you're with us there, just looking at the news there. The young lad Scott Robson is again getting brilliant reviews down in Crewe. Like he's really a hot prospect coming into, if he comes back to Celtic, isn't he?
Yeah, and I mean the game that obviously he stands out in is the one where he came in to play against Cluj, Europa League. He didn't look out of place, in fairness to him. Obviously McGregor got there. It was obviously beat, and there was a couple of guys ahead of him, but he looks a seriously good player. It's just trying to give a guy time in the field. If you look at it, when we were talking recently about say Luke O'Connell, if you looked at all the guys that were in front of him, and it's very hard because I mean if he comes in and he has a bad game, anything like that, all of a sudden he'd be held without kind of go, oh, he's not good. But he's I'm delighted to see how well he's doing in Crewe. You know what I mean? He's doing very, very well, and it's great to see it.
And Mark, it was going to happen really that if Kyogo was fit, he was going to get called up to the Japan team. Kyogo himself, I think, wants to play for his country, as all internationals do, but it could be a little bit too soon for Kyogo to play 2 quick games in quick succession as well in that space of time and all the travelling for him.
I'd like to think that they've came to some kind of arrangement with Japan that he's not going to be playing the 90 minutes of that ball, but as you say, players want to, well, we spoke about the way Japanese attitude to everything is. I mean, they're proud of their country, you get what I mean? He'll want to play there, but hopefully, as I say, because I mean, it's not as if he was injured with their training methods or that. It was on the park he picked it up, so it was just it was bad luck really, but I'd have rather that he'd just been left out it, but if he goes, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Hopefully, and he's actually played against Tom Roderick on the 12th as well, Terence, like 2 Celtic players playing against you in a different continent. You would say something that Celtic fans kind of haven't experienced on that side of the world, 2 Celtic players playing against each other.
Yeah, so it's just, I'd be in the same as yourself. I'd be just praying that he does that maybe 45 minutes in one and maybe 45 minutes of the other at the most, because I mean it'd be nothing worse than Kyogo going away and getting another knock or an
international duty again. Yeah.
You'd be sickened, you know. We could see the difference of when he was out, difference of when he was back, and it's it's worlds apart. If we've got a Yeti up front or we've got Kyogo up front, it's just worlds apart. And I think it'd be one of the worst things that could happen. He went away and he got another knock and came back and he was out for another few weeks. It would be just awful.
Moving on from the news, look, we'll get down to business. There was an important game today. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2. Kyogo setting the marker in his second game since back from injury, scoring the opening 11 minutes into the game. Lewis Ferguson equalising for Aberdeen in the 56 minutes before Yotta stepped up, scoring the winner for the visitors on the 4th minute. A win's a win, Mark. 3 points is all that matters.
Well, that's what we were all saying that before the game, Paul.
Yeah.
So we obviously we're going to moan about the performance, but really we can't. All we wanted was the win, get the away.
Well, I suppose like going about
back.
Mark, if you're looking back to and Terence as well yourself, looking back to the Dundee United game, you know, it was a tough game. We couldn't get that second goal, and we slugged and we puffed and everything, but they got the second goal, Terence. But it's not plain sailing at the moment for Celtic, is it?
No, it's not, Mark or Paul. But at the same time, sometimes you have to win ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Celtic had 2 shots on target today, and there were 2 goals.
2 goals. Mm-hmm.
We hit however many shots against Dundee off posts. Sometimes you just have to win ugly. You know what I mean? And once Celtic get the 3 points today, that's all that mattered. It really didn't matter whether it was fancy or whether it wasn't fancy.
And in 6 weeks' time, nobody's going to say, we played garbage against Aberdeen, but we still won. I mean, after this international break, it'll be forgot about really how bad we played.
Mm-hmm. Just looking at some of the stats there, like Terence says, there are like total shots on goal. Aberdeen had 11, Celtic had 8, but the ones that counted was Aberdeen had 5 in target, Celtic had 2 in target. Aberdeen, their keeper Woods actually made no saves. Hart made 4 saves. So the one goal that they scored, the other 4 was saved by Hearts. Possession-wise, 37 for Aberdeen, 63% for Celtic. We're still holding possession, Mark, but no.
See the stats,
my question.
While you're talking about the stats, look at the fouls.
Mm-hmm.
We had 62% possession and we gave away 27 fouls. That works out about a foul every 3 minutes or something like that. That referee performance today was absolutely abysmal. It was shocking. Every niggly touch against an Aberdeen
it's like trying to upset the flow of the game, Mark, or something.
We weren't allowed to build up any rhythm or any tempo, because every time there was an Aberdeen player near us, there was any kind of contact and it was getting fouls. It was absolutely that day was one of the worst refereeing performances I've seen in a long time. And you know my opinion on it, I'm not getting in for all this conspiracy stuff and that, but that the day there was something far wrong with that performance for Bobby Madden today.
Even today, Paul, sorry, it's like Mark saying, if you watch the amount of times he blew for Jota with the challenging with their right back, I mean, Jota must have, every time Jota went in for a ball with the right back, he penalised him every single time. He must have given, I was surprised Jota didn't get a card, because he must have given 10 free kicks against him, like in continuously, and you could see the Aberdeen fella looking to get him booked, like, and none of them were anything that you'd consider like any. You know, it was just a coming together most times, or challenging for the ball, but
50-50 kind of a thing, yeah.
It wasn't even 50-50. It was just a normal challenge, but your man was going down very easily, like, and every time there was a chance for Bobby Madden to blow for a free kick, he blew, like, it was unbelievable. And I saw that as well. Yeah, 27 fouls, like, that's unbelievable.
It just makes the game's just start and stop. It's you've not got a chance to build up any rhythm, and that's I've noticed that a few times in recent games. It seems to be a kind of, I'm not saying a tactic, but it just seems to be a kind of thing that just all these wee niggly fouls that are given against us, and the exact same kind of challenges against us go. There's nothing done about them.
The Livingston, another one exactly the same, Mark. The Livingston game was nearly literally every 2 seconds there was a player down for a free kick for very little, very, very little. And as you said, it doesn't go the other way around. And there's tackles.
Do you think maybe they're trying to, like, we'll just throw it out there, like, 'cause, like, we all know that the refereeing in Scotland is bad, and we constantly say that a lot of them favour one team. Like, do you think maybe, Terence, because of Ange's system, how fast we are, that they're actually trying to slow us down, do you think, by these niggling free kicks and breaking up play like that?
Possibly, but I think as well sometimes, Paul, they just know they can get away with it. You know, in the back of your mind, you kind of want, like, some of the challenges on the Celtic players that I've seen, some of them have been, you know, you're looking at it kind of going, how is that not a card? At least a yellow card. Whereas sometimes the referees, like, he booked, was it Turnbull or something, and it was for nothing, like. They said, "Oh, there's loads of fouls going on. You're going to be the one who's getting the card." There's no consistency there. There's none.
Just moving on. We could talk about refs all day. We do numerous shows that Terence, but there's nothing going to change.
No,
within the Scotch. I mean, it's going to be. We could talk about the standards of referee on a whole show by itself. Like, and I just want tonight to be mostly about Celtic. And I think the big question today, if I'm looking at the starting lineup, Mark, was the inclusion of Neil Beaton, but it wasn't in defence. It was in his more natural position, the holding midfielder that Beaton is. How do you think Beaton played, Mark, when he came on?
I thought he done well. We were I messaged you as soon as the team came out, Paul. We were a bit surprised he was in it, but as I said to you, when did Beaton ever really let us down when he was playing that holding midfield role? And
he hasn't really got the chance either, Mark, to play like.
See, before the day, when was the last time Neil Beaton was played as a defensive midfielder? You're holding. It's a long time. Do you know what I mean? They played him. I mean,
I actually forgot that he was a midfielder.
Was it
that kind of a thing?
I mean, who was it that actually moved him back into the centre back?
I was actually thinking that today, and I think it was under Brendan Rodgers.
Was it? I was going to say it was the first time Neil Lennon was here. I thought maybe, but I mean, I thought he played a good game. He done well today, and I think it was a good move by Ange. Obviously, McCarthy's no up to speed, and Sorrow's kind of just needing to a wee bit more coaching, to make him a better player. So I think it was a good idea for Ange, and I think it worked.
Terence, you know how critical we've been of Beaton lately, and rightly so, because no fault to Beaton, he's playing a position that he's not natural to. Like, Beaton likes to have the play behind him, players behind him. How do you think Beaton did to Terence?
I thought he had a fine game, and the one thing that it looked like it today for me is it kind of brought a bit of a structure to the midfield. You knew Beaton was going to sit, and he was going to sit in front of the defence, and it allowed then McGregor to push further forward. And Turnbull had probably the best game I've seen him play this season. He had a cracking game. Again, he's further forward, probably in a role he's more comfortable with. He's not asked to maybe make as many tackles as he was beforehand. To me, I thought Beaton had a fine game. You know what he can do. He's going to sit in front of him. He can pass. He can make a tackle out there, and at least if he fouls, it's not too bad. As opposed to centre half, your heart's in your mouth. But I thought he had a really good game, and I thought when I saw it today, it was great that it was a genuine holding midfielder. We weren't taken away from Callum McGregor, who I think is much better further forward. So I was delighted to see Beaton, and I thought for the time he was on the pitch, I thought he had a solid enough game, to be fair.
Looking at the opposite side, of course, our former captain, Scott Brown, was in the Aberdeen team today. Looking at Scott Brown's performance, Terence, do Celtic miss Scott Brown, or have we moved on, or do we still kind of need that Scott Brown?
No. Scott Brown will always be Celtic legend. There's no question about that. But time waits for no man, And I mean, we've moved on. I mean, Brown was okay today. He does what Scott Brown does, but you can see that he's that bit slower, that bit older. Scott Brown wouldn't, in my opinion, be able to play the way Ange wants to play. So look, I think you have to move on. You know what I mean? I think we've got young guys. So if McCarthy gets up to speed, hopefully there's better guiding and training in Sorrow. Look, Brown was brilliant for Celtic when he was there, but his time has come and gone. And best wishes to the guy, and hope he does well at Aberdeen. But
I didn't think he played that well today, to be honest, Scott Brown. But I've said it before about the laddie, and I'll say it again. We should break the Scottish transfer record for that Lewis Ferguson.
He's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely should.
He likes to score against Celtic. I think is Celtic is the team he scored the most goals against as well, Terence. I think I was reading that today, that he always kind of scores against Celtic. Like, we're seeing a different. Anytime I see Aberdeen playing against Celtic, I see a different Ferguson. I see like moving box to box and stuff like that. He's a player that Celtic really should have went for.
Oh, they should, and I've said it numerous times on the forum, and I've said it numerous times probably anytime we've been on here. I'd love to see Lewis Ferguson at Celtic. I think he'd be a fantastic addition. I mean, he's a big, tough unit, and he can tackle and he can play. You know, he can see a pass. He's not scared to mix it. That's one thing for sure. He'd have no problem getting stuck in and flying into tackles, and I'd love to see him. He's got so many qualities that you'd love to see him, and I think he'd flourish big time if he was at Celtic. I really would.
Mark, you think maybe that ship is kind of sailed now, that there's going to be teams down south now maybe having a look at Ferguson, that Celtic kind of missed their chance this season?
No, I don't think so. I mean, as I've said before, from what I've heard in that, he'd prefer to move down south, but we've got to go and at least ask the question, Paul, really, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Can't he just kind of no even try?
At least put your name in there and find out what's he's going for. Like, but did he, as you know, Mark, like I was doing walk in the house there, but I was listening to the commentary and stuff like that. Did he boss the midfield like he did last season with us? Did he control the game, Ferguson, or how did Beeson and Maguire get on with him in this game?
I wouldn't say he bossed the game. I wouldn't go that far, but it was that's Samuels. I thought he had a good game for Aberdeen as well. But for Ferguson was probably between the two would have been Aberdeen's best players probably, Samuels and Ferguson. But I wouldn't say he bossed the midfield. But, again, I don't think Scott Brown really done much in the game. I mean, he nearly scored. That was one thing he nearly.
That was a header, wasn't it? Jesus, in fairness, man, Jesus! Like, I actually saw that when I was watching the game. I actually saw the header. I was going, of all people now to score, and I was like wondering how would he have celebrated? Like, with Scott Brown?
Apart from that, I can't really remember Brown doing much in the game.
He was playing more long passes than anything. Brown, he was trying to play the wings, but I think Scott Brown being there was taken away from Ferguson. I thought second half Ferguson had a very good game. He was quiet now, in fairness, in the first half. Ferguson came into it a lot more in the second half, but I do think Scott Brown, kind of Ferguson has kind of had to push out to the side a little bit, and I think he's better in the middle, Ferguson, but he kind of came into it more in the second half. Ferguson.
What's happening there, man? Coughing up a lung.
Said he's died. He's on his way out.
You're right.
Sorry, lads. Jesus. Call attack there the dust.
Terence, back. He's Nick house, man. He sent us a video. He's at Paul's house last night. He's in his kitchen and he's everything done, and it's like a building site.
Sorry, lads. Just looking at the opposite side. I was looking at the stats there, Terence. Aberdeen had 5 shots. They scored 1. Hart made 4 saves. Are we seeing the benefits of having a more experienced keeper in the team now that our keeper's actually making saves, keeping us in the game?
Oh, listen, that goes without saying. I mean, Joe Hart saves in numerous games this season, even ones that Celtic have lost. He's shown his class, like, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, he gives you confidence when you're watching the game that if someone is kind of half through, you're kind of going, come on, it's a good chance Hart's going to stop this, like. Whereas before you'd be just like, okay, that's a goal, even before a shot's taken, like, you know. He provides, you know, he's quality, you know what I mean. And we're lucky that he's at Celtic, and he's a good shot stopper. His whole game is very solid for me, you know what I mean. It's great to see him in the Celtic colours, and I
think he could have done better at the goal, right enough.
Was I not reading maybe that was kind of two of them? Was it Montgomery and Hart there at fault there for that goal, or what, Mark? What was it?
Oh, we've said it before, Paul, but at least we players on the post. That was the main thing that I noticed. But why it was Montgomery? I think somebody said on the live chat. Imagine that was that Scales at 6'4" standing there marking that post.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Montgomery he jumped to try and get it, but I just don't think he had the height or the spring in his jump to actually get to it. But I think Hart expected Montgomery to get to it, but once he had it, it looked a bit silly. You know what I mean? Again, another kind of silly goal we conceded.
But after after they scored, Mark, then after Aberdeen scored, like who was on top? Were Aberdeen the more likely team to score than Celtic, or was it
Oh,
kind of 50-50? Because I'm reading that Celtic weren't really in the game, is what I'm hearing.
it was just a bit. It was just a bit lackluster. I mean, we were still trying and things like that, but we just didn't seem to be getting anywhere for for long spells in the second half. It was again, we keep saying it. It was like back to a kind of Lennon type of performance, just wee passes to the side and just again back to just lackluster. That's the word I'd use for it.
I was just thinking about that, Mark, because when I asked you about the game and how it went, because I said I was looking at the form and people were kind of giving out performance and stuff like that. And one thing that I could maybe think of is why we're kind of playing like that last season in some games as well, Terence. Do you think maybe the team isn't fit enough yet to play handball for 90 minutes, and that's why we reverted maybe the players themselves go back that way, Mark, because they don't have the level of fitness for 90 minutes to play like Ange wants?
No, I don't think so, Paul. I don't think it's down to fitness. I mean, well, see when it
Oh,
was
they're so used to playing that way, Mark, for
well,
so many years.
a lot of them will be, but again, I mean, for me, see when Aberdeen get the equaliser, they parked the bus again, and it was like, see, you could see it on the park. There was a few times Celtic were pushing forward. You could actually see like the five at the back and the four in midfield, and they were just sitting there waiting. And again, it's up to Celtic to grind that down. We need to find ways to get through these teams that are going to do that. Because when we went 1-0 up, we were playing well, and we should have probably killed the game off even before they even had a chance to equalise. But just again, with just this wee spark that we're needing, we just seem to be missing it. I mean, Kyogo obviously he's fit enough to be playing him. He lasted the 90 minutes, didn't he? But I don't think he's just quite as
They're
sharp.
fully fit,
Just
yeah.
that wee bit of sharpness that he showed us before even. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
talking to Mikey on the phone the other day. We were talking about the European game against Leverkusen. I mean, the chance Kyogo had in the first couple of minutes, see a few weeks ago before his injury layoff, Kyogo would have
Put that
buried
away,
that
yeah.
eye and would have been 1-0 up.
Terence, we would always complaining saying that Turnbull and Roger couldn't play with each other, but when Roger came on for Turnbull, he actually changed the game, did he, Roger, when he came on with his passing, he was able to open up these passes. Like, it's clear to show that playing two of them at the same time doesn't work, doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic pass and a great run by Montgomery. In fairness, he squared it. He didn't even think about shooting, and it was a tap in for Jota. But yeah, look, I think today it certainly proved that playing the two lads, Rogic and Turnbull, together is a no-no, because I thought the balance of Beat and Turnbull was excellent. And yeah, look, maybe when teams are tiring like they were today, Aberdeen clearly would have been tiring. That Rogic you can bring on your Rogic for the 20 minutes and give him a chance to create a bit more, and he's further forward, because he's not, as we've all said, he's not a guy who's going to be putting in tackles. When teams are tired of that little bit, he's got the eye for the pass, and as he did today, he played a cracker in for Montgomery to release him in, and
it was like vintage Roger when he just turned back the other direction with the ball and put that ball to Montgomery. Terence wanted,
It was perfect. It was exactly, Paul. It was perfect, Rogic. And he said he laid it on the plate for him, and then he squared it, and it was a lovely tap in. And that's brilliant. But it's ideal to bring him off the bench for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it was. But you just can't. After today, it just proved the point that you can't start the two. You just can't start the two, for me.
Between the two of them, Mark, who would you have maybe started going on their performances today? Like, did Roger actually change the game when he came on, or did Turnbull play well that Roger wasn't next to him?
I thought Turnbull had a decent enough game. I thought I wouldn't say he was like one of his better performances. I always say about Rogic, Paul's like peaks and troughs. He's always either brilliant or basically non-existent, doesn't he do much. But I thought overall he did a pretty no bad performance, gone with what we've seen the last few weeks. But it seems to, it's his decision making at the final boys. Sometimes it's a bit like Christie. Do you get what I mean? Sometimes takes a shot when it'd be better maybe
Just
try
a
to
pass on, yeah.
I slide that pass through and things like that. But I mean, he's still young, and we spoke about it before. He's actually not played that many games for his age compared to like other players, even in Scotland. So it's a hard. I mean, they definitely can't play in the same midfield. Either or, I don't. It's just for me. I don't even. I'd even say they're maybe at the same level, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a hard pick, but for me, it's definitely it's either or. You can't start with the two of them against anybody.
And who was in? Was it Bison? So replaced Rogic and he slid back, and was it McGregor then that pushed up a bit more? Mark, was that the formation of it?
McGregor pushed up a bit forward, and he's been playing obviously for the last months or that, but it did seem a better dynamic because it's Rogic and Turnbull are just they're too similar. They're always trying to find it. They're trying to find the same bit of space on the park, kind of thing, because they're that similar types of players. But when you've got like Beaton, McGregor, and Rogic or Turnbull, it's like you've got three different types of players. Do you get what I mean? There's a mix of players there, rather than players that are that similar. They're kind of cancelling each other out.
Mm-hmm. But why? I can't understand. Because as I said there, a win's a win, and the way you're explaining it, like we want totally out of the game. You know, what I mean, when I was reading stuff there on Twitter and stuff like that, a lot of Celtic fans were saying that they were poor, they weren't playing well, they were lucky to get in. Aberdeen should have won the game. Was it like that, Terence, that Aberdeen should have won the game?
I wouldn't. How can it be like that? It's Celtic had 63% possession.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're off the park. I mean, the problem I have with that, Paul, is, and in fairness, what United Ireland put up on the forum as well, that guys are giving out when they don't grind out a result against Dundee United. Guys are giving out when they win against Aberdeen and they grind out a result because it wasn't a good performance. I mean, you know, we can't have it everywhere. Like.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the best. That's the point for me. That's the best thing to win. Like, is when you're not playing well and you're still grinding out these results, Terence. Do you know what I mean? You know.
Percent, as someone was saying to me, and I said it's like when you were a young guy and you went to the nightclub. You mightn't have pulled the best looking bird there, but if you pulled the bird and you scored, you were still happy. Like.
Where do you come up with them, I tell you, like, Jesus Christ.
We know what it's like. Celtic fans, they're just folk out there that are never happy. They'll just moan about anything. They've got anything that they can moan about, they'll moan about. They're always looking for the negatives. You see it on the forum. You see posts coming into the forum, and see as soon as you see whose name it is, you know that it's going to be negative. You know that there's guys on that forum that very, very rarely post anything positive about Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
The live chats we do. It's all the usual. All the lads are in there. All the usual suspects. And if we're winning 2 or 3-0, it's just us, and we end up just sitting there talking a lot of rubbish, having a laugh and a carry on and a joke. But see the minute things on the going our way, the viewing figures got me, so I've just everybody in for a moan, but they're never there. They never come on the live chat when we're comfortably winning to say, oh, we're playing well, or just to join in a bit of the crack and that.
And was there anyone today, Mark, that looked out of place? Maybe they're moaning that way. Was there anyone who struggled in this game?
Ralston, I thought Ralston had a bit of another poor game as well. He seems to just kind of be getting back to the Ralston that we spoke about before. He's up time or whatever you want to call it. He was really impressing us, but young Montgomery again, I think he's having a bit of a tough time adjusting. But I mean, he was a winger, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking a young lad to play out of position as well a bit. I mean, well, the OG the other night, the goal of the day. It's just had a couple of, it's like high profile mistakes. I think maybe, again, with injuries and things like that, where maybe our hands been forced, but with Scales there, I think it's time for Montgomery to be benched and give Scales a chance. Even to protect Montgomery and take him out the limelight. You know what I mean? It's all part of bringing on young players and progressing them. Well, if a guy's had a couple of high-profile mistakes in a couple of games and he's only a young boy, take him out the team, just let him get settled back. You know what I mean? Put a wee cuddling arm around him.
Because I think we saw the best out of Montgomery, Mark, when he came on for the last 20 minutes of a game or stuff like that, but it's a big ask to ask a young lad to play, as you said, nearly out of position, like for 90 minutes and starting the game as well. There's a lot of pressure on the young lad as well. And if he is making profile mistakes, Mark, it's time for Ange to go, right, I'm going to maybe throw Scales in here, just take a bit of pressure off you.
That's it. Just take him out the limelight and let him get settled back into his own kind of rhythm, his own wee kind of happy place, if you want to call it that, and then give him another. I mean, I'm not writing the lad off or anything. I'm not meaning anything at all like that. I'm just saying at this time for me it would be best if he get took out the limelight a bit.
Mm-hmm. Terence, just what Mark was saying there about Radisson. I think is it game time maybe that Radisson really hasn't been up to his best since he came back from this injury with COVID.
No, but I think as well, Paul, he's asking so much of the. It's unbelievable. Like to this inverted full back role that he wants now. I don't particularly like it, but he knows he's going to stick to it. But he's asking so much of these guys to go into the middle of midfield and play. And as soon as they lose the ball, there's no cover.
No,
and they've got it. The ball's played into their area, and all of a sudden everyone's going. There's no right back. There's no left back, and it's Ralston's fault or it's Montgomery's fault or whoever.
We're wide open, like, aren't you? You're wide open, like.
I think as well. It leaves the two boys at centre back to boys as well, because literally we go forward and we leave two defenders back. That's all we have. Two defenders, and in any of the games we've played, if you watch the Livingston game, there was no after when you in and your man came from the blind side of Welsh and scored. There was again the second goal the other night. I know we're not going into too much detail, but the Leverkusen goal when Ralston lost it midfield, where was the ball passed? Straight into where and your man ran. The centre half has to come out to cover, and the ball was just squared past him over to the other side of the field where there was no left back either, and the man taps it in. So I mean, you're asking guys to do something that they're probably not overly comfortable doing. Like, I mean, Ralston is a right back for a reason. If he wanted to be a centre midfield, I imagine he'd try and be centre midfield. I just think when they lose possession, there's no cover there for them, and I think it stands out then, and it makes them. I don't know. It makes scapegoats a bit. To be honest with you.
Mark, what's your thoughts on that? Actually,
just to know there, Rab on the live chat saying the players will take time to get to the required level of fitness and also get used to how to play this system. Need to press as a team and cut down on misplaced passes for us to work. That's a good. See the amount of silly wee misplaced passes that just kind of snowball into causing us problems. I mean, there was times a day, Terence, you know yourself, that we brought pressure on ourselves trying to pass it about the back and things like that. Silly wee misplaced passes, and the next thing we're under pressure right away with it.
Well, but clearly, they've obviously been told, do not play the ball down the line. They've clearly been told that, because you watch Starfelt and you watch Cameron Vickers and any of the last games, the one during the week, the European game, and tonight, and like they can be on their own line and they'll pass it square across the box. It's like they're saying, if I play this down the line continuously, he's going to just take me off and put on someone else in my position. And you can see that. It looks to me that they're not very comfortable doing it. Obviously, Starfelt, Vickers. Like, I mean, my God, especially on Thursday night, it was inches from being intercepted on a couple of occasions, inches. And I don't know. I just think there's a time and a place where you just need to clear the ball. You just need to clear the ball, But it's obviously the way Ange wants to play. It's high risk football, and that's what he wants them to do. Pass it. I've never seen Celtic in my life make so many passes inside their own box. It's unbelievable to watch them.
And there's no explanation for doing it. As you're saying, Terence, it's baffling why you into it. See, we're going on about Ange's system and how he plays, but I don't know why he comes up with this kind of system, as you're saying. We're passing it between the goalkeeper and our two centre backs in our 18-yard box.
Yeah, and as Terence said, there's like it's high risk. Like it's
Oh,
high
you're-
when the players themselves aren't comfortable either, Mark, doing it. Like
You're inviting pressure onto yourself.
mhm. Like Mark, what's your thoughts on this inverted fullbacks, like going into the middle of the field? As Terence said, they're like we're wide open. Like when we lose it, like you know, are you in favour of it? Or that,
No, Paul, you see, be honest, I actually don't know what it's meant to achieve.
yeah.
I know you spoke about it before and things like that, but it's still, for me, it just...
It's the way it works. Is that the centre backs get it? We say Montgomery and Ralston are practically in the kind of going to be our two midfielders. Do you know what I mean? You know, so that's letting McGregor maybe beat on or Turnbull to push up even higher. I mean, and then they place the pass then to McGregor, and McGregor kind of moves it out then to the wings, and then they get in the box. But like he said there, like if we're going to be doing misplaced passes in the centre circle where we say Montgomery or Ralston have it, like, and that's intercepted, the chances are like we're not getting back. These players aren't getting back because Aberdeen or whoever you're playing are on the counter attack already, and by the time you get back, it's going to be nearly 5 against 3, Terence, or maybe you say like you're wide open when it doesn't work. You know,
in situations like that, Paul, you can have anything. When Celtic lose the ball in that situation, they can have 7 men in front. 7 men in front of the ball.
Yeah.
And they've got like two. They've got maybe two defenders, maybe one more. Like it's suicide football at times. It's just like because once the ball is lost, all the Celtic players are gone ahead of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They've all chased back. The opposition are already screaming forward, and the higher the caliber of the opposition, the more likely the result is. You can go through all the games. The Ravens game, the third goal was the same thing. They lost it midfield. They played it out to the right. No right back, and he played it.
What you're saying there, Terence, as well there, that in the Leverkusen game, you could see, as you said, against quality opposition, how the ALT system is exposed to creating chances, you know, to get chances created against you.
Going to get exposed, and I said Betty's done it. I mean, with the greatest respect, Livingston done it for their goal. I appreciate what Ange's trying to do, but I would love to see if they wanted to do that. I don't understand, and maybe someone could explain it to me, why he just doesn't go with wing backs and 3 centre backs and have a fella who's just sit here. Don't go past the halfway line. Just sit here and let the full backs go where they want to. But I don't understand what he's trying to achieve.
That would be the normal kind of
like
the play terms when you're what you said there, go 3 to back and have your wing backs. Then like that would be kind of the natural thing to do. But like, is this a new formation that Ange has done? You know, it worked in Asia. Is the Asian football actually so fast now than Scottish football? That's why it worked in these continents, do you think?
He obviously looks at it as having a way of trying to dominate maybe the midfield, and he feels if he dominates the midfield, he's going to win more games than he's not. But I don't know. Maybe it is something to do. Paul, it might be a quicker pace, but the problem is where Celtic play, and especially they play against a much higher caliber of quality, and it's going to get picked off and picked. Like Celtic, as long as they continue to play with this inverted system, will concede goals. And it's going to be nearly like, I want to say, Newcastle of old, kind of this nonsense of, well, if you score 2, we'll score 4. It's not always going to happen. I just think it leaves the whole defence massively exposed by playing, because when it happens, you leave Starfelt and Cameron Vickers or whoever it is, they're 2 centre-backs by themselves. And I just think it's massively unfair because everyone has to hear back, and the likelihood is returning to get back, and most opposition with the first pass, it's through to the space, either into the left back position or the right back position, where both have been vacated. And it's not fair that guys are getting hammered when there's no cover for them. None.
It's like I don't go on what Terence is saying there, like the two centre backs, Vickers and Stafford. Like since Ange came in, I can't count how many times I actually saw Starfelt actually out on the left, or Vickers, or whoever was it Welch before Vickers came in, was out on the right. Like they're kind of playing two roles as well, aren't they? Like the centre backs are kind of playing right back one day,
if they're needing to cover the full back position.
Yeah.
We talk about Angie's system, right, and the players to play system. Surely, if he sees this way he playing the new isn't he working, he should change it, tweak his system a bit, even to the players we've got, gets up to speed and able to cope with it, or to get players in that can do it. But this inverted fullback thing and that, it's no working for me. It's really not, Paul.
Just reading Rob there again. I was at the Leverkusen game, and loads of the fans were giving the players stick for playing the ball sideways and backwards, or passing it through the back. They don't realise that there's no pass on, so that's when they do it, or they're doing it to keep possession and try to create openings. Do you think maybe that's why they're doing it, Mark? That there's no pass on, and that's why they're.
I think a lot of the time it is because there isn't a pass on. You can see them looking about and seeing. We can see ourselves watching the game that there isn't like that much movement about them. Then, like, I mean, we're talking about the defenders. You're not expecting them to be sliding past, like slide drill passes through to Kyogo and things like that. They're looking to pass into the midfield, where the midfielders should be doing their work. There just seems to be a lot of the times there's a bit of, I don't know if it's lack of communication or what, but I know what Rob's saying there. It just seems to be, well, they're no pass forward, so we'll just keep possession between us the new, and then there's the way that they do that, they're hoping to draw the opposition out more than that, but I just
bring the opposition up a bit more, then
try and
Marcus
get
up,
them to push on and hope that their space is created, but I'd rather Ange kind of no abandon these things, but just change that a bit, because I don't think it's working.
Would that be
hope it would?
Kind of so, Mark? The criticism of Ange would be this inverted, this full backs role, like that. It's clearly we seem to be conceding a lot of goals, Mark, because of that system. You know, and as Terence says there, like, you score one, we score two, kind of scenario. Football doesn't work like that, Mark. We've seen it against Dundee United, we saw it against Livingston. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, like the way
it was another set piece today that cost us, wasn't it? I mean, that's a bigger problem for me. To be honest, that's a bigger problem to me than this inverted fullbacks.
And the problem is that Mark, is that the thing I can't understand really about that is we have a new backline now. You know, you could say it's a whole new. He wasn't playing last season. Young Montgomery wasn't playing last season. When Janovic comes in, he wasn't there last season. But the same mistakes are there. Set pieces seems to be a downfall for Celtic Football Club over the years, Mark. We're going back to the Brendan Rodgers era here, Mark. We want comfortable with corners or anything like that. Like, is there something seriously wrong at Celtic's training ground that we don't do stuff like this, or
I think they'll be working on them, Paul. But it's just, there was talking about like Montgomery being on the front post today. If that had been Liam Scales at 6'4", or even, imagine Christopher Ayer was on to me it was down to Montgomery's height that he couldn't get the ball. So to me that's a bit of a basic error, Paul. Like a smaller guy on the, you're wanting a bit of height on your post if you're putting them there. But it's something again. But I don't think we've got. Carter Vickers, he's a big unit of a laddie in that, but we just don't seem to have like an aerial presence in when it comes to defending set pieces. We've not got like a big ball winning centre half that's just going to attack the ball and doesn't care if it goes into Rose Ed or wherever it goes, as long as it doesn't end up in the back of the net. We just don't seem to have somebody like that.
And we're seeing, to bring it up, but I'm seeing the opposite now in Shane Duffy. I watched the Brighton game over the weekend. I saw highlights, but Shane Duffy looks like a totally different player, Mark, down. So whatever went wrong last season at Celtic, Shane Duffy's back to his best. He's winning these headers, Mark, that we were expecting him to win with us last season. Like sometimes it doesn't work out, but that's the kind of defender we need, Mark. We need someone to be physical. That's going to win. But at the moment, we kind of don't have it. Like, there's no, unless now if Scales gets a run, his height, Mark, he could be the one that could maybe take on that role.
But I just think our defence is a bit soft.
Mm-hmm.
There's no really, as I say, just a big ball winning, old fashioned centre half. I mean, don't get they're worth their weight in gold, I suppose, as much as an old fashioned centre forward is these days in the market. But there's players out there that are good enough to do that kind of job for Celtic. Just, as I say, just a big tough guy that's not going to be bullied or pushed about in the box and things like that.
Who came on, Mark? I know Roger came on. He changed the game. Did we actually slow down when he came on like we saw in previous games, or?
He done. To be fair to you, he did do a bit of running about, but that was a bit basic. That was really it, Paul. He ran about and chased the ball down, things like that, but he still didn't really offer much when he came on.
And is the bench still really like, Mark, that we saw the likes of McGregor and Kyogo coming back now? Why I can't stand why didn't Jacko come on, or is he still not fit enough to come on, or
must be something.
Seems to be a big puzzle there, like, do you know what I mean? Ain't this?
But I thought the team and the bench was pretty well balanced today, Paul, for the first time in a wee while. With a couple of defenders here, with Soro McCarthy there, with Skpe and Jacko there, although Jacko didn't go on, but just even the personnel, it shows you there was a wee bit better balance than we've seen the last couple of weeks. And then when you think we've still got, like, say, James Forrest and that to come back as well. Yeah, Abad did a bit. Didn't think Abad did a very good game today, to be fair either, Paul.
He seems to be, the last couple of games, especially Mark, like since he came back from injury, he seems to be kind of not in the games as much as he was when he first came in. He doesn't seem to be kind of running down the lines anymore either, so he doesn't Abada.
No, I mean, I've been raving about him if we signed him. He really impressed me, but I think Yota's having a better impact in the team than Abada has. So
Yasha seems, when I saw the goal, Terence, Yasha seems to be getting into the positions that maybe we saw Abada getting into.
He hit the bar as well, Paul, a cracker, man. That would have been some goal if that had went in.
But the question is, so with Yasha, we've seen the impact he's having. Like, should the board now, Mark, maybe go to Benfica? There's the 6 million, we want him.
I reckon so. But saying that as well, it doesn't make much difference. I'd like to think it come end of the season the player wants to stay, because that's still a big part of the deal.
Yeah.
Even though Celtic's got an agreement with
it's still up to Yasser as well, isn't it? Yeah.
I still got to agree to it. But for what I've seen from him, the first few games I said to you, Paul, that I thought his final ball was a bit dodgy and things like that. But no, really, I think he's a cracking player. I'd be really disappointed if Celtic didn't take up the option next year, just with what we've seen him just in a couple of weeks.
He's really, Terence, kind of surprised us all, isn't he, Yasser, since he's came in, how comfortable he is as well. It's kind of the same kind of entry that Abada made when he came into, but it seems to be the opposite now. Abada's kind of gone back a bit, and Yasser's kind of maybe taking the centre role in the wings.
Yeah, and in fairness, Yata puts in a shift most times you see him. I mean, he's a real tricky winger. I mean, like when some of the information came out before he was coming in saying he doesn't work back. He's not a great crosser the ball. A lot of that doesn't seem to be very accurate, because anytime I've seen him, his work rate seems to be high. I mean, he's provided goals. He's been assisted in goals. He's a cracking shot in him. I mean, the goal today, he makes a great run for the goal. He makes a run for the goal to get himself in there. He's not worried about today. Certainly today, he wasn't worried about throwing himself in there to win that ball. So, like what Mark said there, I mean, I'd love, obviously, if the guy himself would like to stay, then Celtic should certainly pay the 6 million for him, because I mean he offers a lot for me. You know what I mean? He really does, and I think he's only just going to get better with time.
Mark, do you think the international break is coming a good time for Celtic now that maybe Ange can regroup with all the new signings properly again and get back to the training ground with the players who have been there, who are going to be there? I think we're going to see Turnbull and McGregor kind of going into the Scotland team. We're going to have Kyogo's going to be gone. I don't know about Jack, would he be called up or anything like that, but there's going to be a big squad still there for him. You know, there'd be a big squad, Mark, for Ange to be working with the players back.
It's a chance for the players to impress him as well, Paul. Probably maybe players that don't you get what I mean, like younger players that are maybe on the fringe of things that don't. Even some of the Colt team. I mean, because they'll need to make up numbers for training and stuff like that, Paul. So maybe the Colts will be brought in to make the kind of numbers up and somebody will catch his eye. The thing about the international breaks is that the players are actually away, because we think, it's a good thing because it gives Ange more time in the training pitch, but our club is at that level that most of our first team players are away playing international football. You know what I mean? Whereas your kind of lesser clubs in Scotland, it's a good time for them to get together and regroup, because there maybe
regroup
one or two players away for international duties. But again, it gives us a chance as well for James Forrest to get a wee bit closer to the first team without actually playing games. Because I do think in certain games we'll maybe miss James Forrest this year. I mean, game is due. I've never always been his biggest fan, and well, you know, Kev kind of convinced me with all his stats about his goals and things like that, which you can't argue with over the years. But I think even like the day, I think James Forrest could have made a difference to that game today, because we know how direct he can be, and as I said, Abada wasn't doing much down that right hand side, so it could have been an ideal game for Forrest. We know that he'll attack the teams, he'll run at the full backs and cut in, try shooting and things like that. So I think a game like the day when we were struggling at one each would have been ideal for Forrest to come on.
Another benefit to James Forrest as well, Mark, is his experience. It'd be another experienced head in the first team, like, because you look at it like it is a relatively young squad, Mark, that Ange has at the moment, like what he's working with. Like, I mean, they're like, you could pick out a handful of senior players really, but there's not many senior players within that squad, is there? You know?
No, not really. I mean, who's the oldest in my squad now? Beaton. Well,
Beaton, I said.
Joe Hart, but our outfield player that would be Beaton, wouldn't it? And although he's got experience and he's a kind of model professional, he's not like your most kind of vocal kind of player, you know. He's not the kind of player that's going about in the park bowling and shouting and screaming at people to like get their finger out and do things better, whereas Forrest does.
Have we seen a difference, Terence, that since Kyogo's come back into the front three now, are we starting to see maybe the defence is stretched a bit more when he's in there compared to the last couple of games when he's there? Can we actually see the effect? Maybe, I know he's not maybe fully fit at the moment, but are we seeing the spaces that we used to make when Kyogo was there?
It's chalk and cheese, but it's chalk and cheese between the two of them. I mean, he was fit. Like, if you watch him in the Leverkusen game, like, his movement is unbelievable, and his movement today for the goal is brilliant, and the finish is just out of, he just chests it in. He's constantly on the go, and he's defending from the front. As soon as their centre back gets the ball, and even if he passes across the field, Kyogo's bursting a gut across the field to close down your man, put pressure on him. That's something you wouldn't see in a Yeti at all. And Kyogo, like, even there was a goal that it was disallowed. I think Jota did a foul and Kyogo went in with a little diving header to finish. But if you watched his movement for that goal, the one that was disallowed, he comes from blindside around the defender, little diving header, a cracking finish. Okay, it's a free out from the foul, but he never stops going. His movement, he must be a nightmare if you're a defender marking him. Whereas a Yeti, you know what you're going to get with him. Generally speaking, his movement isn't half as much as Kyogo's, and he's He's a lot more of a stationary centre forward and a lot easier to mark. But yeah, it's been brilliant to see Kyogo back. To be fair, absolutely brilliant.
And Mark, what about our captain, Callum McGregor? Since he came back now, have you seen him more kind of? Are we more settled in midfield that McGregor's back in there?
No, well, again, Paul, it's just excuse me, the balance altogether just seems a lot better with McGregor in there. I thought McGregor played well the day as well, kept the game ticking on, attacking. He'd a bit of a long distance shot at goal, but we'll not even talk about that. I think he made a bit of a blooper with that one, but I've said it before, and Mikey's been on and agreeing with me. I think Callum McGregor's one of the best players in Britain. I don't care what anybody says. McGregor could play for any team in Britain. Maybe a struggle with your like big Liverpool's Man United, but he could get in their squad. It really is, and that's a good thing again. But
is that his best position, Mark? No, that we'll have Beaton maybe holding the midfield. Is that McGregor's best position? That he's more forward, Mark. That we don't have him playing the Beaton role.
I'd say McGregor's. I would never have McGregor playing like sitting back holding role. He done it a few times. I think he was under Brennan, and he done well, but it kind of cuts down in his attacking, and that's where McGregor comes into his own for me, Paul. When we're in the front foot and he's attacking in and about the box, we know he can score for all areas, all angles, and all distances and that as well. So for me, McGregor should be like your box-to-box midfielder. I mean, he's got the energy to track back and disrupt the opposition. Some of his tackling's a bit wild, but he's able to disrupt the team. It reminds me a bit of Paul Scholes, to be honest, Paul. That kind of position.
That type of player, yeah.
Aye, Scholes would track back. Right? He wasn't the best defensively, but he was still quick enough to get back and cause probably it's another body in there when you're defending. So you've got Beaton or whoever, McCarthy or Sorrow as your defensive midfielder, McGregor playing that kind of box-to-box role, and then either Turnbull or Rogic playing like kind of attacking midfielder role. And as I've said before, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I can see Kyogo playing in that kind of position, just because I don't think Jacko's been signed to be a sub. I think he'll be starting once he's fit. I think he'll be starting. So then it's a case of where do you put Kyogo in the team?
I think for the international break market, it's actually good for the likes of Scales and Jacko to get their fitness up and work with Ange a bit more. I think they have to start getting runs in the game, because you're not going to get fit by.
It's weird, Paul.
Running around in the training field. You're only going to get match fit, yeah. Like you're only going to get match fit, Mark, if you're playing. Do you know what I mean?
But I mean, I don't really understand why Skills hasn't been getting more game time.
Because he was playing anyway with Shamrock Rovers.
Exactly, Paul. That's what we said. He was playing every week for Shamrock Rovers. So it wouldn't have taken much to even take a step up to be. Oh, we want this super fit team, but it wouldn't have even took him. He'd have been capable to play right away, in my opinion, Paul, and it wouldn't have taken much for him to get to the levels that Ange is looking for these players. It's a really strange one. It seems to happen.
Especially how fast he is, Mark. Anyway, as well, Scales himself, like he's a fast player, I'm surprised myself it's taken him so long for us to get a glimpse of him, just to see what he's like. Do you know what I mean? You know, because when he came on, I think he came on the end of a match there not so long ago, and he actually did well. You know what I mean? He gave us a different thing, and then he's back to the bench again. I think, you know, considering how young Montgomery is and a lot of pressure on Montgomery, and with Janovic being injured, you know, you're on about last season we could say we have no options but to play maybe Laxell there and Taylor, but we have options now, Mark, and we're kind of still not using them at the moment, are we? You
know? No. As I said there, it's a strange one for me, Paul. That Scales said. I honestly thought he would have started today, simply because of the kind of it was him or Montgomery, really, wasn't it? And I thought Scales would have started, but again, it's just another just weird altogether. Why some of these players are coming in and they're no fit and I mean, right, we can understand it with Jacko, we can understand it with McCarthy, but if this guy Gales, he's been, as we just said, he's been playing every week for months. So you can't turn around and say he's no fit.
There's no way Scales isn't fit. There's no way. I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but there's no way. It's not fit. I mean, as you said, he's played with Shamrock Rovers most of the season. He's been playing in Europe most of the season. The Irish in the Republic of Ireland squad. There's no way the guy isn't fit. No. So I'm like when he came on recently, I thought he looked really, really well. He like his movement, his passing, he looked really good. And like what Mark said today, I thought he had a really good chance to start today, because I would have just thought they might have taken Montgomery out after the Leverkusen game, because obviously it wasn't his best game, and he's a good player, but I thought Scales might have got a start today as well. So it was a strange one, because he's one guy that you would say that has come in that will be ready, as opposed to some of the other lads that, like, there's no reason that he isn't going to be ready. And it's a strange one now. It's an international break, so he's obviously not going to play again for another 2 weeks. So I don't know.
Before we move on,
he's on the Irish squad, does he?
Not that I know. It's not out yet, Mark.
No, just
I didn't hear nothing yet anyway.
no, just
I know he was called up to the last one. Anyway, he was called up to the last one, but that was kind of due to injuries. He got kind of called up after the match. After the first match, he got called into the squad for the second one, but he didn't feature really. Like, he was only there kind of really to make up numbers.
I think that's, as you said, Paul. I think that's good that I'll let him spend a bit more time training with Celtic and learning for Ange. Maybe it's just no get. He's taking a wee bit of time to understand, just to get to grips with what Ange's asking him to do on the park and things like that. I don't know. Well, it's just, I mean, it's Terence is bang on there. It's a really strange one. Why a guy that's been playing so often over the last few months just doesn't seem to be fit enough to start again for Celtic.
Terence, is there anything else you want to bring up? Like, anything that we've highlighted that you've seen of Celtic over the last couple of weeks?
No, not the only thing that's my bug is the whole thing that we've gone over, the inverted full backs. I just can't get my head around it. I can't get my head around it, and I just think we leave ourselves so exposed, and I don't understand why he just won't do something different, like three at the back, and let the two full backs go and have a sitting midfielder. Because my worry for Ange is that if he and he said he's not going to change the way he plays, and I'm not saying he should change the way he plays, but there's no problem in changing your formations. Like, by all means, inverted full backs.
You can have a system. The system doesn't need to really change. The system doesn't need to change. It just you can still play the same system of football, just tweaked a bit different with what's actually going on in the park. But the actual basis of your system of football can stay the same. But we've all spoke about it, and that's inverted fullback just doesn't seem to be working. So either just get the sack now for a wee while to the players that we've got can learn to do the job that he's asked them to do, or he can get the players in that are capable of doing it. So it just seems to be causing us more problems it's causing us more problems than the good that it's doing us, in my opinion, you know.
Most of the problem with it, Mark, is most of the problems are, so to speak, are Celtic are making themselves. They're just leaving themselves so exposed by trying to play this way. And I for the life of me, as I said, I don't understand. I can understand what Ange is trying to do, but it doesn't appear to be working. And the problem is, the longer it keeps going, and if results keep, today thankfully it was a good result, but if results keep going the other way, I don't know, people are just going to be what's he trying to do, like, you know.
Chief, if he didn't win that game the day, the pressure on Ange would have been immense. It really would have. That was a really, really important win for us today. And as I say, I'd really been moaning about some of the performances, but the main thing was getting these 3 points, because that was a big win for us today.
And especially, Mark, the win today, especially being away from home, winning away from home, getting that, what would you call it, psychology thing out of your head that you haven't won away from home since February. You know, that's
the monkey off your back, Paul.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, just
Pittodrie's never an easy place to go to.
no. You know, and other teams will drop teams a bit up take. Great, how they're struggling, Mark,
I mean, Aberdeen,
is beyond me. Like, you know,
Aberdeen aren't having the best of seasons either, but it's like every other team in Scotland, Paul. They raised their game against Celtic Rangers.
yeah. Mhm.
I mean, anytime, I mean, over the years in that, anytime, if you can go to Pittodrie and come home with a win, you've had a good day. You really have.
Mhm.
Even as, I mean, that's come back. Even when Aberdeen are winning the doldrums and that, they appointed daft managers and things like that. It was still a tough place to go because the players all raised their game to play against teams like Celtic Rangers.
Mhm. Mark, I just want to take. I know we were talking about Aberdeen, but we haven't done a podcast since the Europa League. Again, during that game, Mark, it was self-made mistakes that was our downfall again due to this system that Ange plays. You know, and you're on about tweaking it and stuff like that, but they were schoolboy mistakes we were making against Leverkusen, weren't they?
But you can't blame Ange for what David Turnbull done.
No, ridiculous.
You know, and that's just to me. That's just totally. There's nobody else to blame for that but Turnbull. And the penalty was never a penalty.
That was harsh.
It was a weird game, Paul, because as I said, I never expected us to get anything out of it. I'd have been happy with a draw. I'd have been delighted with a draw. And I think, even at 2-0, I still think we were still kind of in the game. We weren't being overrun. But see, once the penalty gave against us, I think we kind of lost our way a bit. That was a kind of sucker punch that kind of
like the scoreline didn't really reflect on the game. Like, considering like Kyogo was only back, Mark, and the chances that he had, you would really expect Kyogo to put them away, wouldn't you?
Oh, their keeper. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name right enough, but their keeper, he had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he had a great game, but I was disappointed that the score was 4-0, Paul, because I don't think my performance warranted losing 4-0. I really don't. I think we were. Again, I mean, I've said it, Paul, when we get doing. For me, Leverkusen were a Champions League team.
No doubt. And you could see that, Mark, couldn't you? They knew how to win, didn't they?
You could see the class in their team in that, but I thought for long periods of the game, I thought we held our own. The scoreline embarrassed us, Paul, but the performance didn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Terence, what was your take on last Thursday night? Like the games are coming quick and fast at the moment, aren't they? You know.
I'd say after about 5 minutes, you were thinking to yourself, this could be 7-4 or something. There was chances all over the place, like both sides. And as Mark said, their keeper pulled off some unbelievable saves. And we were a little bit our own worst enemy, like how Turnbull just doesn't find Rosette with that ball. Only he knows. You know what I mean? We're caught in possession in midfield, doing what we do, and they play through us, and next minute it's another goal. But you have to remember, we also missed, if you take the keeper saves out of it, a bad and great chance. I think a Jota shot or someone shot, and the ball came back out to him where he finished it against Mitchell, and this one he just drove it wide. Kyogo had a great chance to score as well after the keeper saved. Again, maybe it's just rustiness, and he missed pretty much an open goal. So, and then they score at the end. The penalty, the same thing. I was arguing with fellas in work. They were asking me about it, and like it's not even like, why doesn't the referee look at the VAR? I'm assuming it was available. Like, it doesn't go anywhere near Vickers' arm. It hits him pretty much on the ribs, like. So
even if it did tap him there, Terence, it wasn't even facing the boys. I know they're going about this unnatural position stuff and that, but if you've got your back to the ball, you can't control what bit of your body is going to hit off it.
Oh yeah, like as I said, like Mark, it literally just hit off his midriff and flew out. That's what it did. And I don't understand how the referee didn't if there, I'm assuming there was VAR available, how he didn't go and look at it and go, okay, look, that's actually not.
They did.
They did, so he still thinks it was a penalty.
But he didn't go and look at VAR himself. It was these ones up in the gallery or whatever that were that kind of VAR.
Okay, because I saw him giving the penalty, and then I saw him with the mic, but he didn't even. It just seemed that he just kept going for the penalty. So yeah, it was a terrible decision. But even the goal at the end, like, it's just unlucky. Just Celtic are just knackered and they're cutting the break. But
the fourth goal was just a sucker punch. It doesn't matter whether it's 3 or 4 by that time of the game, didn't it?
No, but it didn't reflect the game either. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, if you were like any of my friends at work that I know, they were going, "Oh, you were hammered 4-0," and I said it wasn't actually hammered. I said it sounds funny 4-0, but I said they actually played quite well. I said their keeper had a worldie. The saves he pulled off, the one where Kyogo done a swivel and it was literally top corner, and he just was full stretch across, tips it away. Just he had a super night there, goalkeeper. To be fair to him, he was top notch.
Just looking at the month of October, when we come back from the international break, we've Motherwell away on Saturday the 16th, then we've Fenerbahce the 19th of October, then we've St. Johnstone at home, Highbarling away, Livingston at home. It's tough games there, Mark. Like, there's no easy games, and again Celtic have, was it two games away from home again, and another game away from home just after come back from international duty, Mark. You know, they're coming fast, Mark, and they're tough away games as well for Celtic, aren't they?
Hibs game, that'll be a tough game. I mean, that game today, that was another shocking refereeing decision. Did you see the Porteous red card?
Yeah, he was saying that to me there today.
Have you not seen it yet? No, did you see it, Terence?
No, not yet.
I didn't see it. I remember.
I don't even know if he touched it. Was it a Rebo that was good? I don't even think he touched him. Hibs are a good team. Hibs are a better team than Aberdeen. This season, well, so far anyway, we don't know how things are going to pan over the season, but that Hibs game will be a really tough one for us. Not really Motherwell. I don't really think we'll be able to. We should have enough in our locker to beat Motherwell, and hopefully when we get Livingston back to Parkhead, we can give them a pump and get revenge on them.
Mark, I think the big news today from Scottish football as a whole is there's going to be a meeting about VAR in the next week or so, Mark. Next 2 weeks, there's going to be a meeting. Seeing these decisions, Mark, that you're seeing, like a poor game today by Bobby Madden and stuff like that, and look, you said the red card today was harsh. I know you're not in favour, Mark, but it's the time that the Scottish football actually goes down looking down this road and bringing VAR in.
But it's not going to change anything, Paul. Right, because see, they're like today's game, us up at Pittodrie, we've got Willie Madden. Willie Madden's he's been the referee. So who's up the gantry running the VAR? Hugh Dallas's son. It's just going to be other referees that are. It's all just the same clique that's going to be involved in doing that job. And that's
it's like what Jonas said. His body's up in the thing, and he's not going to rule out decision that Bobby Madden made either. Max, he's not. That's the way it's going to work. Like, isn't it?
The other day, right? We're talking about that Porteous getting sent off, right? If that's went to VAR and it's still coming down, no, that's a red card. Right, even if us with our eyes, everybody that looked at it the day that wasn't a Rangers fan said that was never a red card. Everybody. So if you're sitting there and it's say Madden that's doing that and it's this other one, that's backing them up. It's just giving them mere backup to make these dodgy decisions. Because all the referee needs to say is, well, it went to VAR and they agreed with me. And that's the thing about it. Just need to try and get some neutrality, some neutral blood, some neutral people in doing that side of the game in Scotland, and start looking out with like it's like Lanarkshire. It's where I actually stay, Paul. I stay in South Lanarkshire, but it's just all these people. The Lanarkshire Referees Association, they all call it, but it's all these people from about here that are the referees. you never hear of referees for your like Aberdeen. Do you get what I mean? All the top referees all seem to be based in and around Glasgow and the surrounding areas, like Lanarkshire and places like that, and that's wrong as well.
Terence, what would be your take on it coming in?
That's Matt saying, Paul. I mean, if you're going to bring in VAR and you're going to have the same idiots up there as a coach, it's not going to make any difference. The only way you could have any bit of neutrality in it is basically if you have a complete outsider up VAR, say for argument's sake. If it was, I don't know, if it was fellas from the English FA or just someone who basically wasn't connected to anything in Scotland, any of the clubs in Scotland, or have any affiliation. But as Mark is saying there, if you've got Bobby Madden on the pitch and you've got your man beat on above there doing it, or beaten doing it above, doing the VAR or whoever, or Dallas, he's not gonna overturn the decision and say no, you were wrong. They're just gonna, and as I said, it's just gonna confirm, yeah, you were right to give that penalty, or you were right to send them off. That's all. It's just gonna confirm what the referee's already decision made, unless you bring a complete outsider to overrule the VAR and go, no, you got that wrong. It wasn't a penalty. No, it wasn't a sending off, or it was a penalty, or it was a sending off. That's the only way. At the minute, it'll be just like the lunatics running the asylum. That's all it's going to be like.
I've said it on team podcast, Paul. I think that the referees for every league should be supplied by UEFA. Even having like a league system, you've got your top level of referees that do the big 5 leagues, but then you come down as you move down. We swap referees for places like, I don't know, Belgium, Austria, whatever. Do you know what I mean? These guys will be coming in and they'll be perfect. They'll come in and do their job professionally, because if they don't, it's UEFA they've got to answer to.
Yeah, not your local Scottish FA or.
But that's the thing, Paul.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody to answer to. Nobody's going to pull up Bobby Madden the day for the way. I mean, the referee's meant to be there to try and like help the game roll on. I mean, how many times as well do you see them and they'll be like, "Oh, play on." They'll leave play on. There was umpteen fouls, supposed fouls that Celtic committed the day that in any other game would have just been a kind of play on, wave on. They weren't worth pulling the game back and stopping the game for. And they've got to. One of the things as well is ridiculous as well as, I mean, even down in England, they've got to like declare who they support and who they supported as when they were a kid and things like that. We've got nothing like that up here. I mean, even down in England, even look into like where do you stay the new and where you've stayed over the years, and they'll look at that and see if you can. I was reading a thing about this the other night. I think it was a guy. What was his name? Kevin Macy or something. He was an English.
Yes, Macy. Yeah.
And he was talking about before all these rules came in. Refereed 2 QPR games. One was a win and one was a draw. And he says he couldn't. After the game that he won, he felt terrible because he wanted to start jumping about and celebrating, but he knew that he couldn't. Even though he tried to do his job professionally, when it came to the final whistle and his team had won, he still wanted to celebrate. I mean, I know in Scotland it's hard to find. I mean, we've got this joke. People turn around and say to you, "Nah, who do you support?" "Oh, Motherwell." "Aye, right. But who's your big team?" You know what I mean? We look at it in Scotland that everybody's got an affiliation to Celtic or Rangers of some description. So that could maybe cause a problem up here if we went down that road. But it's certainly something that we should look into, and we shouldn't have like ex-season ticket holders at Ibrox and places like refereeing their games. That wouldn't happen in any other league in the world.
It's an interesting here coming from William. VAR is not the answer, but if every fan watching will see the replays and see the cheating, like it'd be kind of clear, like something they do in rugby, that you actually see the officials, Mark, like communicating with each other if you could hear them.
That would be a big help as well if we could hear what the referees were actually saying.
You know, like see what they're actually saying and what their reasons are. Because I think, Terence, that's what they're calling for. Sorry, Mark. That's what they're calling for down in the Premier League, because it's taken so long to make these decisions, you know. And they're saying, why can't we hear them like in the rugby, that you heard the referee communicating with the officials on the TV, you know?
But the big thing with a lot of that, Paul, is what you're talking about there. And I'd be a big rugby guy.
Mm.
More times than not, the TMO, as they call it, above in the box, is not connected to anyone. Like if it's Leinster are playing, if it's Leinster are playing Munster, it's probably going to be a Welsh guy in the TMO making the decisions. Was that a try? Was that not a try? It's not. You're not going to have a Limerick man in above there in the TMO, or you're not going to have a guy from Dublin above the TMO.
But that's kind of going back to what Mark was saying then as well. So Terence, just have different officials in that area, in this, you know.
It's having an outsider, a guy who has no connection to anything, and that he is entirely neutral. Like how can half the guys who we've been talking about they're like, how can a guy who's a season ticket holder at Rangers be neutral?
Mm-hmm.
Asked to get a Rangers game as his last game before he retires and things like that. I mean, that's it is corrupt.
He asked for that.
There was somebody in the live chat will probably know who it was. There was an old referee, he was retired.
Jesus Christ, man.
Oh, can I have my last game at Ibrox and that? Aye. But,
unbelievable, like I didn't know that, no, tarmac. Jesus Christ.
It's hard. It would be hard to find really neutral referees in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I think the best thing today is to put it in the hands of UEFA.
Mm-hmm.
Just the pool is so small in Scotland, obviously, for the referees that it's like you said, it's either who do you support, it's either Celtic or Rangers, but the majority of them is obviously Rangers, because the pool of referees is so small at that level. The likelihood in even remotely neutral is not even there. Like, you know, it's not. It was like guys like John Beaton after doing a Derby match there a couple of years ago, where basically Morella's kicked whoever he wanted, and then he's pictured down in the Rangers pub after the game having a few points with supporters. So, like, how can that guy be neutral? Like,
can you imagine that? Can you imagine that happening with like Liverpool v Man United or that kind of game?
The Holy War. What Mark was it? The referee won the last matches. I think it was Beaton again was reffing the matches, and even their manager came up and said that they don't want him reffing one of their matches anymore. That he was one of the worst referees that they ever had reffing their games. I think it was it was Beaton, wasn't it?
That was a European team, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, Paul. But
and they complained to him and everything to refs, saying like, this fella has no standards of refereeing. Some of these decisions he was making was atrocious. But as he said there, like, that there's no one taking responsibility in Scotland, so he's just getting away with it. Like,
well, even remember, we'll go back to when they went on strike. Mind after the Dundee United game, and the referee got caught trying to cover up that he was cheating.
Mm-hmm.
We played Dundee United. I can't even mind his name now. And then the referees went on strike and things like that because of that. But it's been going on for years, and I'd say it as well there. But you're saying about him that was our refereeing in Europe, Paul, and he said that about him. It's a lot of it is maybe down to like the bias, whatever. But to me, it's just the basicness. It comes down to the standard of refereeing in Scotland.
And that was the thing today, Mark. Like, we're not complaining today, like, about the referee as a such. Like, we're not complaining about a penalty that maybe should have given. We're talking about silly fouls that you see in games that are waved away by professional referees. That they're silly fouls. Play the game. Do you know what I mean?
Just talking about the actual overall standards of the referee. Paul, and I keep saying that. This isn't sure great because Celtic had to scrape a win against Aberdeen. But that refereeing performance today was one of the worst I've seen in a long, long time. And why is he no being questioned even by the SFA or the SPFL? Why is he not being questioned even by the press? Do you get what I mean? Why is the press not asking these questions? I mean, that wasn't a dirty game today. If a team concedes 27,
and then there were 27 fouls, Mark. You say that it was a dirty game when you be looking at it, like, yeah.
You'd think the Celtic players were just running about the park, kicking everything that was moving. A foul every 3 minutes. I mean, I've never heard of that before in my life either.
No, that's it for tonight, lads. Unless Mark, you want to add something yourself before we go, no?
No, I'm fine, Paul. I'm fine, bud.
Terence is sending a letter to Anne saying he's not a fan of the inverted fullbacks and it's time to change his system to a 3-4-3 system. That's it for tonight. Thanks to Terence for joining us as always. Thanks to the live chat. Mark will close the show.
Right, thanks very much, Paul. Thanks for joining us again, Terence. It's always good when you come on, buddy. Thanks for everybody in the live chat. Again, if you've not subscribed, please do so. Hit the like button, and if you know how to, please leave a comment. Hail, hail, good night, and God bless.